Welcome once again to Train Tuesday. If you're joining us on the live stream tonight, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. If you are catching up with us on our YouTube channel, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for stopping in and seeing what we talk about here on Train Tuesday. So before we get started, let's do what we always do. Let's go ahead and get some shout outs going. I've got Jason, Dave Reynolds is here, Delta 9, Greg, DG Model Works is in the house. Donnie, George, Jerry, Ian Frost, Ronald, and Jason, just to name a few. We've got a pretty good crew showing up here. We're going to be talking about Athearn HO tonight. We're going to be talking about the Athearn HO SD45T-2s. Now, for a lot of you guys, this was a highly anticipated locomotive. A lot of you guys were extremely happy about us re-releasing this model. We've got some exciting roads and we've got some updates on some of those roads to let you know what we're working on here. So we'll be talking about those as well as some other news too. Hard to believe too. I saw in the comments earlier, it's only 12 more days till Christmas. So we've got only a few days to get our last pre-orders into our favorite dealers and share our hobby with those in the family. If you're like me, sometimes when you have family over for one of the holidays, gives you a chance to show your hobby, show your train hobby, and maybe, who knows, start another one on a great hobby. All right, so before we get started, let's see who else is joining us. I've got Randall, Kyle, Zach, George, Marvin, Frederick, KCG Rail Gilbert, Donnie, and Bradley. So thanks again for joining us. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about Athearn HO. And we're going to be talking specifically about the SD45T-2. Now, a little bit of background on this locomotive. The EMD SD45T-2, it's a 6-axle diesel electric locomotive built by General Motors Electromotive Division and having 20-cylinder 645 series diesel engine producing 3,600 horsepower. Now, over 200 examples were produced between 1972 and 1975. This locomotive, including the SD40T-2, were nicknamed tunnel motors due to the rear cool air intakes lowered just above the walkway at the rear of the locomotive. Now, this helped provide cooler air into the locomotive's radiator cooling system and ultimately reduce the chance of the engines overheating in tunnels. So this was one of those locomotives that was designed specifically for the very large tunnels that you'll see out west. Now, the first picture I have here, this is Southern Pacific 9375. We announced this back in June of 1975, and it was delivered in 2016. So this gives you an idea. If you've never seen the Athearn SD45T-2s, this gives you an idea of what we're looking at. Now, let's just take a look real quick at some of the details of this. Now, this is an Athearn locomotive, so it's not going to have the detail of a Genesis locomotive. However, that doesn't mean it's going to be sparse in the detailing areas. Here you can see the bell detail, the grab irons, lift rings, antenna, piping, all of that. Now, this is based on how the locomotives appeared when the owners had them. So they're all going to be similar details, shared common throughout their road name. Now, we're going to be offering these in standard DC as well as DCC with sound. We're going to be using the Economy decoders by Soundtracks. Now, let's get started on what roads we will be offering this time. We're going to start out with the Union Pacific. So after UP purchased the Southern Pacific in 1996, they inherited an older SP Power that still had some life left, receiving a fresh coat of paint. A few soldiered on for a few years after the merger, earning revenue for their new owners. Now, this is early 2000s era. So here you see Union Pacific number 4819. And again, this is based on an early 2000s. Likewise, its stablemate 4825 is also early 2000s. Here you can see we've got that red sill. So this is before 2006. Now here are the features that are unique to the Union Pacific road names that we're offering in this run. These are all going to have nose headlights, modified L window cab, roof AC, Nathan P3 horns, pilot mounted ditch lights, large front plow, and a small front anti-climber. So again, two are being offered in this release, two different road numbers, and they will feature those details. Moving on, we go to the Southern Pacific. And a lot of guys were extremely happy that we came out with these. A lot of people I saw on Instagram, a lot of guys were really excited that we brought these back. To help combat locomotive overheatings in the tunnels, SP and EMD developed the SD40T-2 and also the SD45T-2. The T or tunnel refers to the modified design of moving the air intake lower near the rear end of the walkway to bring in cooler air and thus reducing engine overheating in tunnels. With the success of the EMD SD45, SP ordered the SD45T-2, needing the higher horsepower to help move freight over the steep grades of Donner and Tehachapi. SP was pleased with the results and ordered over 200 units from 1972 to 1975, becoming part of the backbone of their locomotive fleet. And here's one of those backbones right here. This is number 9338. Now this is how it appeared in 1974. We're offering three different road numbers in this paint scheme. Again, 9340, as well as 9357. These are based on 1974 paint schemes. So the Southern Pacific features are going to be slightly different than what we talked about earlier. These are going to have the full SP front headlight package with cab gyro light. Now, the cab gyro light only operates if you get the Economy Soundtracks decoder. The DC version, the capability is there. If you run it straight DC, that's not going to have that capability. However, if you put your own decoder in, you can certainly set it up with that function. But just to let you know, if you go ahead and get the locomotive with the Economy sound unit, you're going to have that lighting function. You're going to have the L window cab. Now, the L window cab, kind of a neat thing. We'll zoom in on this for you guys that are not familiar with it. Rather than two separate windows on the cab, EMD experimented with making this L-shaped glass. Now, ultimately, that did not last. It was actually kind of a pain for the maintenance guys. It was much easier just to have one set of windows for the Spartan cabs rather than this L-shaped window, but it did have an improved visibility for the crew, the engineer. Neat experiment, and Southern Pacific was one of those to step up and try that out. And so this one is being offered with that detail. You're also going to have the roof AC and bell, Nathan P3 horn, large front and rear plow, and a large front anti-climber. Now don't go away because we still have more Southern Pacific. Different era though. You know, with the Union Pacific crowd, there's two different types of modelers. There's the yellow sill and there's the red sill. With the Southern Pacific fans, there is the Gothic font and then there's the speed lettering. Two distinct different eras for the Southern Pacific. Younger guys naturally tend to gravitate towards the Southern Pacific speed lettering. I don't know. Any way you slice it, a Southern Pacific locomotive looks really sharp. We're going to be offering the speed lettering version in three different road numbers. As these units were ran hard in service since their initial debut, many were repainted into SP's then new speed lettering scheme of the 1990s. By this time, the units had lost their SP lighting features in favor of addition of front ditch lights, and other changes included moving the horn to the long hood and modifying the L-cab windows. We'll take a look at that here in a second. So here we have a mid-1990s repaint with some of that equipment removed. Here's 9335 as it appeared mid-90s. 9343 and rounding out the fleet is 9402. Again, all three of these are 1990s paint schemes. Now remember the L window that I showed you earlier on the original Southern Pacific locomotives. By this time, they had changed that. I'm going to try to zoom in on here. And you can now see, instead of one big L window, they've modified the cab to use the same glass, whether it be horizontal or vertical, on the engineer's side. A little bit easier for the maintenance crews to work on. And of course, with modern freight railroads, maintenance can be an Achilles heel on getting the freight moved. So some of the features that we're going to feature on the speed lettering SP units, they're all going to have nose headlights. They're going to have the modified L window cab like I just showed you, roof AC and bell, Nathan P3 horn on the long hood because it's been moved from the cab to the long hood, walkway mounted ditch lights, large front plow, and a large front anti-climber. So a lot of good stuff we've got here so far. Now, if you've got questions on anything, try to save those till the end of this segment. I'll go through the comments and try to find them. If I don't see your comment, just go ahead and shoot another question after the end of this segment, and I'll try to answer it for you. Let's continue. I've got some more roads to show you that I know you're going to like. Coming up next, and one you probably, on the surface wouldn't think of as a customer that would use the SD45T-2, and that's Canadian National. Now, far from their initial stomping grounds, Canadian National inherited a small batch of former SP rebuilt SD45T-2s from Duluth, Mississippi and Iron Range. They were used in iron ore service to help replace their aging fleet, I should say, of SD9s and SD18s. Now, these are all based on 2000s, early 2000s era. Hard to believe that was over 20 years ago, but that's what these units are representing. We've got 3 different road numbers in this run for Canadian National, starting with number 405. Coming up next is number 406. And finally, 408. Now, as you can see from these illustrations, and we've gotten a lot of questions, a lot of feedback on our social media feed, why don't these have the DMIR markings under the road number, just above the battery box? Guarantee you, those will be there in the production runs. This is just early artwork. Sometimes when we put this artwork out, it's early yet. We're just trying to get you a representation as to what we're going to be making. And sometimes something gets missed. And this is an example where that was missed. It's a detail that we will be adding. So you can rest easy knowing that these guys are going to have the DMIR markings right underneath the cab numbers. So along with that, other features that we're putting on these locomotives, they're all going to have a nose headlight, the modified L window cab, roof AC, 5-chime horn mounted on the long hood, walkway mounted ditch lights, and a small front anti-climber. So you're probably thinking, wow, how many more roads do you have? Well, we got a few more. Coming up next is the Cotton Belt. Of course, they had some of these. Now, SP subsidiary Cotton Belt ordered a small batch of SD45T-2s for service all over their system. By the late 1980s, though, their original paint was starting to fade, showing some signs of hard service. To help reduce maintenance costs, the SP ordered gyro lights were removed and a modified L window was installed, just like the speed lettering SPs I showed you earlier. Now, the cool thing about these is they are all 3 road numbers I'm about to show you are primed for grime. So they're going to feature faded out paint, faded out road numbers, faded out markings, all of that. The red's going to be really dull. The gray is going to be kind of that chalky gray. They're going to simulate what they look like in the late 1980s after putting in a lot of hard work. So coming up first is Unit 9383. Next is 9395. And again, you can kind of see the cotton belt is kind of faded out there. And then last is number 9403. Now, some of the details on the cotton belt are going to include nose-mounted headlights, modified L window cab, again, just like the SP speed lettering, roof AC, Nathan P3 horn, large front plow, large front anti-climber, and of course, since it's primed for grime, you're going to have faded colors. So coming up next is one that really surprised a lot of you guys, but I think a lot of people were happy to see the Bessemer and Lake Erie added to the mix. In the early 2000s, the BLE went on the used locomotive market looking for heavy and reliable motive power. They purchased 11 former SP and Cotton Belt SD45T-2s, designating them as SD40-3s. These units were rebuilt with the removal of the SP nose headlight, the L window cab, and the large front plow. Additions, however, included front ditch lights, a unique BLE-style cab headlight with upper gyro light and lower standard headlight, MU catches on the front pilot, and the horn being moved to the long hood. Now, these are all based on early 2000s paint schemes. This is how they would have appeared in 2000. We're offering 3 different road numbers. So we have 900, 902, and 905. Really striking paint scheme. Kind of has a Milwaukee Road-esque look to it. So here are the really neat features of the Bessemer and Lake Erie. These are going to include the ARR trucks with Timken bearings. They're all going to have the firecracker antenna, a large fuel tank, MU hoses, frame-mounted handrails, a small single-chime horn, cab Stratolite beacon, which again, this will function if you get the economy version, and footboards on both ends. Last but not least, you guys have asked for it, and we went ahead and delivered the undecorated. We get a lot of requests all the time for undecorated locomotives. And we have done some in the past. We did the MP15 ACs last year in undecorated. We figured it was time to offer the SD45T-2 in undecorated and let you guys do your own units or even your own home road paint schemes. Now, this one is, of course, based on a Southern Pacific. You can tell there's some Southern Pacific features there. You've got the lighting features, and you've also got that L cab window that we talked about earlier. Here's some of the other features that this locomotive will have as an undecorated. The details included on this locomotive represent the SP class 9209 to the 9260 series. It's going to have the SP front headlight package, the L window cab. It's also going to have some extra detail parts included, but in a poly bag. And basically, this is ready for you to paint up, customize. It's great for you freelance modelers. It's great for you guys that have been asking for an undecorated locomotive. Now you've got your chance to go ahead and do your own home road paint scheme. Now, overall, the SD45T-2 locomotives are going to have the following features. They're all going to have fine scale handrails, photo etch windshield wipers, separately applied air tanks. Of course, they're going to have LED lighting throughout. HTC truck side frames, welded electrical cabinet air filter box, all-wheel electrical pickup, see-through dynamic brake fans, separately applied wire grab irons, rubber train line and MU hoses with silver ends. It's going to feature the standard late -2 cab with or without the L window. That's per the prototype. You're also going to have the see-through radiator grills with the new rear truck gearbox specific for the tunnel motor. So what that means is when you look at the locomotive from the side, you can actually see through the locomotive and not see the old gear tower from the truck like we had many years ago. And of course, the speed recorder is going to be attached to the appropriate axle, again, per the prototype. Now, keep in mind the prices that I'm about to announce to you, these are what we call MSRP. Contact your dealer for your price. These are just suggested retail prices, so keep that in mind. But if you order the DC only version, it's $169.99. If you go ahead and go with the sound with the Economy Soundtracks decoder, it's $239.99. So there you have it. There is the SD45T-2s. This is a release that I know a lot of you guys were really excited about, and we're so happy to bring those back for you guys to pre-order. Now you have until Friday, December 30th to get those pre-orders in. So at this time, I'm going to take a look and see if anybody has any questions, comments, anything about the SD45T-2s. Let's see. St. Crow says, get the undecorated one and make a BN stripe nose tunnel motor. There you go. Well, there's your opportunity. Pre-order one before the 30th, and you can definitely do that. Greg is commenting. Thanks for offering the Bessemer version. The BL&E was a great road, and I chase these units often on ore trains in Western PA. Cool. Yeah, I never got a chance to rail fan that road. Our friend Michael is here. You know how we know it's Michael? Because he says S-scale, please. Man, not yet, Michael. I don't know. Maybe someday. Right now, HO. And for you N-scale guys out there, don't worry. We've got stuff for you coming up in future Train Tuesdays. Let's see. Working Sanders on the Undex. Joel, no, not on this run. Wait till April 1st. Let's see what else we've got. Thomas, thank you for your kind comments. Each time we release a locomotive, we try to make a few refinements on them, make them a little bit better than the previous run. So we appreciate your comments. Let's see. I'm going to go back a little bit and see what other comments I might have missed earlier. Delta 9's loving the cotton belt ones. Yeah, the Prime for Grime is really, really popular. LCAB window setup is very cool. Yeah, it's really cool. I remember reading more about these in the early 80s when I was really starting to notice what EMD was doing. And it really had a cool look to it. We didn't see that around my parts of New England, but you definitely saw it in the trains publications of the time. Harold, I think he's excited about undecorated. So Harold, let us know in the comments what you plan on painting yours up in. Let's see. Yes, they do look like Milwaukee Road. That's what they remind me of. The Bessemer and Lake Erie ones are really getting a lot of love tonight, so I'm thinking those are going to be a strong seller. Randall's liking the cotton belt. Ghost lettering on the side reminds me of the former Kansas City Southern SD40T-2 I saw at Hardy, Arkansas a couple of weeks ago. Oh, man. I hope you got pictures of it. Harold's liking the CN units. Let's see what else we've got. I got time for one or two more comments here. Jay Cure with a bit of weathering advice. Roll that one in coal dust and wipe the windows off. Not too far from the truth there. All right. Go down. It looks like I got a few new comments. Well, the ditch lights on the CN flash, Jim. So typically what we do at Athearn, if we do ditch lights, and usually keep in mind, this is if it's a Genesis release, we're only going to do what the prototype did. So if we did let's say we did a Norfolk Southern locomotive with ditch lights, we're going to have it programmed from the factory to flash its ditch lights when you hit the horn button. However, there are some roads that do not have flashing ditch lights. A lot of Western roads don't do that. So let's say BNSF, for example. If it's a BNSF locomotive, it's not going to have flashing ditch lights. So in this case, we're talking Athearn. There's a little bit different setup protocol on these. To my knowledge, though, to answer your question quickly, the CN ones will not have flashing ditch lights. All right, so I've got some more things I want to share with you before I let you guys get back to work in the hobby room, the workshop, the train room, whatever you call it. We get some exciting stuff. I remember I said we're only about 12 days from Christmas. And I know a lot of the times on Train Tuesday, we talk about what's going to be in stock a year from now. Everything's about pre-orders because remember, everything we've talked about tonight, you've got until Friday, December 30th to put in your pre-orders. But the following thing that I'm going to show you right now, they're at your dealer right now. You can go to your dealer, you can pick these up, you can pour them, you can make your Christmas gift. I mean, that's easier sometimes, right? So let me show you what we've got in stock. A lot of you guys on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, around. We've got some great freight cars in stock, and this one here is no different. This is the HO scale Seco 50-foot boxcars. These are Genesis models. And this one right here, the Atlantic and Western, number 61014, it's prime for grime. It's in stock at your dealer right now. If your dealer does not have these in stock, have them contact Athearn because we still have some in our distribution center. And you can probably have one of these before Christmas morning. Not only do we have the really cool Seco boxcars, which, man, they just look good on any layout, but I'm excited to see the GP7s are back in stock. In fact, I've got all three of the Bangor and a Rustic, the two simplified blue ones, as well as the Bicentennial unit. So if you have been waiting for these GP7s, they are in stock right now. Now this is one, this is the Kansas, Oklahoma, and Gulf 805. These are still in stock. Contact your dealer. This was one that we thought would sell out really quickly. And surprisingly, we still got a few of these in. So if you think you've missed this, you're in luck. You can go ahead and order one of these. And again, probably have it before Christmas. For you guys that do a lot of operations, we've also got some tank cars in stock. Here we have the 33K LPG tank car. This was a July announcement of 2021. These are in stock now. The one that we've got pictured, this is Pro Car number 31177. It represents a car from 2004 onward. So if you've got some industrial switching and you've got some tank car needs, these are definitely for you. Again, these are Genesis models. You know, I don't know about you, but I can never have enough covered hoppers. These are the HO ACF 4600 3-bay covered hoppers. These were announced in August of 2021. And this example here, this is the Andersons. It's a former great Grand Trunk Western. And it's a late 1980s prime for grime. And these prime for grime ACFs, they really look great. Put a little bit of dull coat on them, put a few more markings, some weathering on them, and they look great on your layout, your module, whatever. And again, these are Genesis. So they're going to have all those neat features like the cut levers, the air hoses, rotating wheel bearings. Just a great car. And again, they're in stock now, so you don't have to wait for these. Last but not least, I want to ask you all, welcome you all to the Athearn Extra. This is going to be Athearn Extra 1.5, kind of a Christmas special, if you will. Join me along with Tony Cook of Model Railroad News as we talk about both the Athearn HO SW1500 switchers and SD45T-2s, as well as their prototypes. We'll also talk about the new N-scale offerings this month, which includes the Athearn Genesis F89F TOFC flat cars and the all-new, brand-new Fruhoff 45-foot trailers. We'll also talk about the big connection of model trains and the Christmas season in general. So there's probably going to be some great dialogue going back and forth about memories. I don't know what it is about the holiday season, but holiday season and trains just seem to go hand in hand. So join us this Thursday. We're going to be live Thursday afternoon, 7 o'clock p.m. It's not really afternoon, but I think you get my drift. 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We'll interact with you as well. So we'll be here to answer questions. You can ask questions of me, and you can also ask Tony some questions. Regardless, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a fun, festive show. Again, we're going to talk about SW1500s, SD45T-2s, and since it's Tony Cook, he's going to have a lot of great pictures to share with us. So join us for that. It's sure to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you guys are looking forward to it as well. So with that, I'll answer a few questions, and then I'm going to let you guys get back to the layout. I know I've got some work on mine. Chessie wants to know, Chessie tunnel motors. Didn't happen in the real world, but it's your layout, rule number 1. So if you get an undecorated one, you paint it up in Chessie, by all means, send Athearn a picture. St. Crow's got a cool story to post. He says, recently got the Genesis ATSF 627-9. The real one, now BNSF 627, was in local service for a number of years in my area. That's really cool. It's always cool to see that kind of stuff happen. Brian's liking that Pro car. If you really like that Pro car, we've got them in stock. So, tell your family it's on your Christmas list. Tim Peters wants to know, what can we expect to see next year? A lot of trains and a lot of rolling stock. 2023 is going to be a great year. I'm really excited. We're going to be doing some things that we haven't done in a while because of the pandemic, and some things that we've never done. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that. Let's see. I just saw somebody asking about SD59s. And it's gone that quickly. Somebody was asking about the SD59M-2s. Those are scheduled to be here about late January, last I remember. Keep in mind, there is a dizzying amount of items that are slowly making their way from the factory to our distribution center. I try to stay on top of it as best I can, but let's be honest. Right now, there's so many different locomotives coming out. They are here, and then they're gone. So if you can't catch me on a Train Tuesday, or you can't catch me on social media, you can definitely go over to the Athearn website and check out the ETAs there. Also, big news for you guys that have been waiting for the FEFs, stay tuned. A big announcement coming soon. If you guys have been waiting for the FEFs, your wait's about over. So some more good news for you guys. Let's see, Joel. No circus peanuts. Do people really eat those things? Ugh. I don't know. It's not a locomotive, but Joel, I suppose if you really want to, you can go over to our Athearn website, go to the Contact Us page, and hit the Athearn Product Suggestions email. Now, typically that's not used for circus peanuts. It's typically used for, I want this locomotive, or I want this rolling stock, or I want the next run of GP9s to include these roads. That's the perfect place for that. And that's where we really get to see what's popular and allows us to produce what you guys want. Will we be making any new announcements at Amherst this year? Yes, we will. Like I said, 2023, we've got some ambitious projects that we're working on, and we're trying to get a release for every show that we're going to be at. Right now, we're scheduled to do the Amherst show, the Denver show, of course, the Nationals, and of course, Train Fest. But keep track. As 2023 goes on, we'll be posting what shows that we're going to be at, as well as what Athearn personnel will be in your area. All right. Well, with that, I have kept you guys long enough. I want to thank you very much for joining us. And again, if you caught us on the YouTube pre-recorded broadcast, thanks for stopping in. Do me a favor, please. Do a favor for Athearn. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe to this video, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that way you'll also want to ring the bell. Once you ring the bell, you'll be notified every time a new Train Tuesday drops in, or an Athearn Extra, or whatever else we think of. So with that, I want to thank you everyone for joining me tonight on this Tuesday. Some great stuff. Don't forget, you've got till Friday, December 30th to make these pre-orders. I will see you on Thursday this week, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Myself and Tony Cook will be here. Wear your ugly sweater for Christmas, and I will see you then. Until then, be happy, be healthy, be safe, and above all, high greens. Good night, everyone.